the main party, the ruling party, the ANC, which has been in power for the last 30 years, came out with a 40.7, I think it is, overall mark. And that's short by a good 11% for them to be able to rule and to govern. So they now need to go and partner with somebody else. It's two issues, right? One is purely political. Jacob Zuma is very popular and has always been in the KZN area and in Mpumalanga. So it was obvious when he set up his party that he would get those votes, right? There's literally nothing that the ANC could do about that. So we'll park that. Economically, though, there are a lot of issues. Since COVID, the businesses really took a beating. We saw a lot of businesses close during COVID, all types of businesses, including middle-sized businesses that were employers of the youths and of other people. And these have not fully recovered, right? The biggest employers remain the government and the really large businesses that made it through COVID. So the structure of the economy in South Africa is such that we do not have as many SMEs. You'll find that prosperous countries have got lots of small businesses that help to support and to gird the economic system. Here, it's literally really large businesses and government and middle-sized businesses that took a beating during COVID, and very few smaller businesses, or at least upcoming smaller businesses. And I think the loss is also related to unemployment. There's a very big issue of unemployment in South Africa. Things have actually gotten worse. I was just looking at some stats. Unemployment at the moment is at 41.9%. That's general unemployment. If you zero in on youth unemployment, ages 15 to 34, is at 59.7%. And unemployment also depends on where you are. It's better in the commercial hubs, and it's much worse in the rural areas. In rural areas where we used to work on the Zimele program, we would see youth unemployment going up to about 70%. On top of that, young women are most vulnerable. Young women really struggle to get jobs, and it's for a variety of reasons. Sometimes they have children early, then they're married off. Sometimes, even if they're in school, they have to do house chores, after school. It affects their grades and it affects their employability. I mean, I think we all know the history of apartheid. It's because of that, I think, in the main, that we still see such high levels of unemployment. And it's both on the supply and the demand side. Supply, sometimes the level of skills, the level of education is not where it ought to be. And sometimes it's demand, that there are not enough corporates in South Africa to employ the number of people that we have. Now, we must never forget, right, the history of South Africa. I think that the industries that were developed really were to serve a much smaller number of people. Maybe 4 million, must have grown now to about 8 million, to the actual available market, which is 60 million. And if you take just the working class, it's over 40 million, right? So there are a lot of people, and the core basic structure of South Africa was not made to really employ so many people. That's why, as I said, the biggest employer remains government, because it's been able to pivot and to take in more people. But that's not even what you want, is it? I think government should create an environment where business thrives and business employs, not that government employs. That's why we think about it in TechnoServe as a solution is to really, really help support the establishment of small businesses. Government is going to have to think differently. They've put in a lot of programs to try and support youth, to try and support small businesses. They're just not enough. They need more help. It needs to be coupled with the kind of work that we do, I think. For somebody who's got machinery, equipment, they need to be able to understand how to run a business. And so we partner with some of the government programs to work with youth especially women and young men, to make sure that they are using the assets that they get from government properly to generate income and to improve their lot. We trained youths, we trained small businesses, we trained larger businesses that can supply into the likes of Anglo and other bigger organizations. I think mostly it's about energy. That's why we went in straight to do the just energy transition. I think a lot of money and a lot of effort will go into energy. So there's a whole trend of moving from using coal, and Anglo American, for instance, divested out of coal and moved to, everybody's moving to other renewable sources of energy. And we've got a role to play at the end of the day. We really do believe that one of the solutions is not just to reskill people in these areas, but also to work with them, to know how to run a business, to know how to work for themselves. How can we work with people in the just energy transition? How can we play a role there? So we're looking at businesses that are looking at alternatives to coal, and then we're teaching them how to run a business, how to operate effectively as a sound business, and we're positioning them to take over even as more and more people move away from coal and start to use new sources of energy. As a country, one of the key things we want to do is to recycle, putting money back in the hands of the people, but also protecting nature, climate, and people. So we want to work through the value chain, starting from educating households on separating at source, working with the small recyclers who actually just pull a trolley on the street, collecting paper and plastic, and then from the small collectors, we then go to the BBCs, which are your businesses that do the actual collections, sorting, and then on sale to the recyclers. So it's a very exciting project that we want to work with, and it will have real impact on the economy of the country in terms of increasing the volumes of recycling. And we really look forward to making a real difference in the lives of people that really have nothing. They live on a hand to mouth basis. So we're hoping that the monies trickle from the big organizations in recycling right down to the bottom of that value chain, where the people are actually collecting the trash on the streets. It's really business as usual. Our clients, they need to make money to feed the families. They need to make money to go and buy school uniforms and pay school fees and do all the things that we do daily. So yes, the elections came and went. People went and voted. Um, on the street, there's not a lot of discussion about the elections. There's a lot about, where do I get the next lot of money to do the next lot of things I need to do? So that's where the minds of our beneficiaries are. When we get into class, for instance, when we're teaching, the discussion quickly moved back to, what am I learning? How am I going to use it to better my lot? So people are excited when we do our programs because they see it as an opportunity. So they see us giving them an opportunity through the trainings that we give them, that they can change their lives, that they can really, really do something different and change their lives and change the lives of their children, who will in turn look after them.